Hi Aries, welcome to your month ahead horoscope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, you know I love you for it. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you would like to book a personal tarot reading with me, you can do so on the website address below. And if you want to be a part of the next Tribal Tuesday that goes live in September, hit the description box hit the link in the description box below. With that said, before I start, I would like to bless all of my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So let's see what August 2019 has in store for you, Aries. All right, so your actions with the world at large. What is taking place? What are you doing this month? Let's have a look, see. And this month, your steps forward are saying the Hermit, right? So this is about withdrawal, right? This is about taking it back to basics for you guys this month. And the feeling that I get from this, because the Hermit is about withdrawing from the world so that you can hear your inner voice speak, right? But it's also a quest. Whenever you see the Hermit card, this is about you seeking knowledge. There's something that you want to learn this month. There's something that you want to see. There's some aspect of the world or some aspect of life that you want and need to have in your life. And this is a really exciting thing because it suggests that you're going on a hunt for certain types of information and certain types of knowledge. So for me, I kind of get this feeling that you're cooking up some sort of a plan this month. And you might not necessarily be acting on it this month, but you are definitely gathering the information. For some of you, excuse me, this could be about you analysing data. This could be you looking at certain information that you've already gathered and you're asking yourself, right, now that I know all of this stuff, now that I've got all of this information, what's the best way for me to utilise it? What's the best way for me to apply what it is that I've learned? There's something here this month where you're kind of, the feeling I get from it is you're going on a quest for knowledge. Right, so this sees you kind of going out into the world, speaking to various different types of people. The feeling that I get from this is largely in relation to your professional life. If you are retired and you don't work, if you don't have a job but you're searching, for those of you that are retired, the feeling that I get from this is you're now looking at your spirituality, right? You're now broadening your horizons to say to yourself, how do I incorporate more of a spiritual existence in my life? And how do I find, continuous purpose, even though I don't necessarily go to work anymore, right? Just because you don't work or just because you're retired doesn't mean that life ends, not in the slightest. In fact, that's when it truly begins. For those of you that are looking for work, this looks like you're going out there to find out what kind of work you want to do, what kind of work is actually going to suit you as a person. So this sees you being very selective about that, right? So there's going to be an interesting path through the month for you guys for sure. The Death card in your money and materials, right? So this is going to be a month where you are looking over your finances, and I really do feel like you will be putting a stop to anything that is detrimental to your health. If you're a smoker, if you're a drinker, if you are, like me, a little bit tubby around the midsection, this is going to be the month where you really start to hone in on that stuff, right? And it's an interesting dynamic because the feeling that I get from this is it's almost like you're saying to yourself, this needs to happen for my health, but I can see where it's costing my pocket. So if you are a drinker or a smoker, or you're, maybe you overindulge and twice, maybe 3 times a week you get takeaways, or maybe, 4 or 5 times a month you go out to eat at a nice fancy restaurant. This will be where you're saying to yourself, right, I'm stopping that now because I want to get a hold on my finances. And interestingly enough, because it falls next to the Hermit, the feeling that kind of gives me is it's almost like you're looking at your finances finances and saying, right, you know what, I like doing these things, but they're not necessarily good for my health. And also by putting a stop to them, I'm going to recoup the losses. It's almost like you're putting a stop to something financially in order to build up that pot of finance, right? So you're looking at your money and your physical health are linked in some way this month, and it really does feel like that. Any kind of addiction, overindulgence, anything of that sort that you partake of, that you have or do or enjoy this month, you're saying to yourself, no, you know what, I'm knocking that on the head, because I could get so much more out of my physical self, but also out of my financial self. So let's have a look at your communications with the world at large. You've got the Seven of Cups, right? Seven of Cups does represent confusion, but it also represents a lot of things happening at one time. Very often it gives us more than we can handle, right? So whenever I see this card, I always say to people, streamline it, bring it down, bring your focus in line, right? Instead of having 7 or 8 things on the go, streamline it to 3. If you finish one of those goals, brilliant, replace it with another one, so that you always have 3 things on the go. Spinning 3 plates versus 7 or 8 is always a better way to go, because you can afford more attention on each one of those things. The fact that this falls in your communications right next to the Death card, this really feels for me like Aries is getting back to speaking the way that Aries does. What do I mean by that? Well, I have known many Aries over my life. My dear Ma is an Aries, and I tell you, she is about as clear cut as they come. She's about as subtle as a brick. I love her to bits, but oh, trust me, you know, what you see is literally what you get. And the feeling that I get from this is this month, you're kind of getting back to yourself when it comes to your communications. It's almost like you're saying to yourself, you know what? Yeah, there was a bit of a while there where I wasn't kind of 100% sure on my identity, on who I was or where I was going. Aries have been through a bit of an interesting year already so far, right? And I kind of feel like this month you'll be saying to yourself, right, you know what? I want to be very clear on what I'm saying. I want people to understand what I'm saying, and I don't want them to... it's almost like this month you're leaving nothing over or... nothing open to interpretation. I have to think about that one then. So very, very interesting so far. You've got lots of, well, the Death card represents Scorpio, so that's water. You've got the Seven of Cups, that's water, and then you've got the Hermit, which is Virgo. So far it's all water and earth. And then you've got, so lots of water and lots of earth. So really, this could be a very fruitful month for you, right? It could be the sort of month where you really make a lot of headway, but it's not necessarily going to be stuff that you can see overtly. It will be stuff that takes place on the internal realm, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Sometimes when we grow inside, as an example, I'm seeing, you know, that picture, and there's like a tiny carrot in the ground and a big bush of leaves, and then there's like a massive carrot underground and then like a small patch of leaves, and it's like, don't worry about what the external is doing, fix the internal, because, you know, look at that. And then once you've done that, everything else can kind of is gravy on top, so to speak. So in your personal relationships, personal, professional, platonic, familial, you've got the Page of Pentacles, right? So for those of you that are single, the Page of Pentacles and the Seven of Cups together, do not mix business with pleasure this month. It is not a month for you to do that. You won't have the clarity. You could have a lot of fun. You could be all in your physical feels, like lots of, you know, sensuality and like that fantasy, maybe even playing around with that sort of thing, you know. What are your kinks? What are your fetishes? All of that kind of stuff is probably possible, but it's not, you know, if it's a work colleague, if it's somebody that you work with, the chances are you don't have the full spectrum or the full picture around this person, because they fall, you know, with the Seven of Cups there. So it kind of suggests to me that, you know, they might have another partner somewhere. They might not necessarily be as divorced as they said they were. They might, you know, they could still be living with an ex, or it's a complicated situation. And not only that, The feeling that I get, because the Page of Pentacles is very often business, work, all of those sorts of things as well. Do not mix business with pleasure this week, this month. For those of you that are partnered or in long-term bonds or married, the Page of Pentacles does suggest that you guys are utilizing a similar outlook. It could be that you guys have an idea this month where you say, you know what, we could start a business together, or we could do this, we could do that. You're coming up with some really great ideas. Just be sure to talk over the fact that you're both on the same page exactly, because the Seven of Cups, like I said, can sometimes muddy the waters, and because it's in your communication sector, you could both be so hyped on an idea, but you're kind of like forgetting that actually, you know, one of you's highly logical and the other one's totally spiritual, or, you know, you're both saying the same words, but you actually mean different, slightly different things. Just if you do have any ideas like this that you want to move together or move forward with together on, just be sure that you both have the same understanding. So run over exactly what it is that you expect or what it is that you think or feel. So let's have a look-see at your weeks of the month, right? So your first week of the month, you've got the Lovers card underneath the Hermit. So this is interesting. It does suggest as well that you're making decisions based on factual information this month, right? So literally anybody that gives you information, you're going to be like, can you verify this? Is there anything to back it up besides Wikipedia? Right? This month you want the facts. You are not about the wishy-washy. You are literally just kind of saying to yourself, you know what? I'll take on board what you say, but I need to know that you can back it up. There's nothing about this month that suggests that you buy into pipe dreams. I kind of feel like this month you want everything very clear cut. And in this first week of August especially, it's almost like I hear you saying to people, do you have facts? Do you, you know, like whatever you bring me, I don't care. I'm happy to take it on board, but I need to see that it's backed up with pertinent information. Second week of the month, you've got the Chariot card underneath the Death card, right? So this is great. The Chariot card is a victory and success, but sometimes it's a victory over self. And the fact that the Death card is there in your money and materials, this is you getting serious this month about your health, about, you know, your personal outlook, about your finances. This is you saying, you know what, I'm going to exercise more self-control in order to get to where it is that I actually want to be. Fantastic. You really couldn't ask for any more than that, actually, and that's quite a fruitful pair, because Death's card is Scorpio and the Chariot card is Cancer. So, you know, it's a double hit of that water energy. Your third week of the month, you've got the Hermit card, right? So you've got a double hit of this Hermit energy. With your communications, I would not necessarily lay low this month, but take everything that people say to you, unless they can back it up with facts, with a pinch of salt, right? Look for the meaning behind what people actually say to you. If they say this and you kind of get an inkling that they mean something else, ask them to clarify. This is a month where you really want clarification on everything, and you will be expecting that, because that's what you're giving this month. It's almost like you're getting back to yourself. Aries is getting back to being very clear cut, and it's kind of like anyone or anything that tries to muddy the waters, especially when it comes to communications, it's like you just don't have time for it. And then finally, your fourth week of the month, you got the Wheel of Fortune underneath the Page of Pentacles, right? So as I said to you, this business idea that you come up with a partner, for those of you that are partnered, could really yield some amazing results. Just make sure that what you understand as what you're talking about is what the partner understands as what you're talking about. It does suggest, though, that if you have a business idea or you have like a side hustle or something like that that you want to do together, with the Wheel of Fortune there, it could really do very, very well. Like, and you know, going forward for sure. Just be sure that you are both on the same page. For those of you that are single, the Page of Pentacles suggests, and with the Wheel of Fortune, you could have a lot of fun with people. You could, like I said, you could have, you know, all of those sensual moments, and you could be whispering sweet nothings and sending those cute little messages and text, or some of you might even be sexting, who knows. But the feeling that I get from it is it's just meant to be that. There's nothing here that suggests something concrete, if I'm honest. I kind of feel like it's more of like a summer romance, summer fling, you know, all of that energy is definitely here, and you could have a lot of fun doing it. If you are crossing a boundary because this person is somebody that you work with, be very, very sure that you are both going to be able to leave it at the door once the summer ends, right? And that's why I say to you, if you can steer clear of it, it's just going to be easier on you, right? You know, it's one of those things where, like, you know, you get with somebody at work and then you can't look at each other because it's like, oh, awkward. You know, it's kind of like that energy that I'm picking up. You know, and then, you know, universe forbid, if it goes wrong and it goes awful, it can create a really uncomfortable vibe or situation. So just keep that in mind. So with your key to the month, you've got the Justice card, right? So this is about balancing it out. This is about finding, you know, really finding a balance point between that need to be clear cut, but also that need to be a bit more frivolous, to have more fun, to not necessarily think more about things, you know, not necessarily work harder, but work smarter. With the Death card, this for me really does feel like you are making a decision to dedicate yourself to becoming the best self, right? And it's not about like, I'm living my best life. It's not necessarily all about that. It's more about how can I be better? How can I improve my health? How can I improve my finances? What is it that I'm communicating that may be holding me back? You're very, very self-directed in general because that's your energy, but you're very self-focused this month. But you are really looking for clarity across the board. You know, and like I said, with the Hermit card there and the double hit of the Hermit card and the Justice card and the Lovers, that for me really is lots of clarity, lots of facts. Like, I don't care what you say to me, I don't care what you expect of me, give me the facts, let me work with that. I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up for you. Take care, and I'll see you soon.